I got it at 11:43 on a Tuesday. A motion alert from my front door camera. The banner said, "Person detected, familiar face, Marcus." Marcus is me. I was sitting in a conference room 14 miles from my house, halfway through a quarterly review with 7 other people who could confirm I had not left the building. I tapped the notification under the table, expecting a glitch, a false trigger, maybe a delivery driver the system misread. The thumbnail was a man on my porch with my build, my jacket, my messenger bag, reaching for the door handle with his right hand. I'm right-handed. He opened the door the way I opened the door. Key in, quarter turn, shoulder nudge because the frame sticks in the humidity. The clip was 9 seconds long. He walked inside and the door closed behind him, and the system logged the event as Marcus C. Aki arrived home 11:43 a.m. with a confidence score of 94%. I watched it twice under the table. Then I put my phone face down and finished the meeting and drove home at my normal time, and everything inside looked exactly the way I'd left it that morning. Nothing moved, nothing missing, nothing wrong. My wife Dana was already there. She works from home on Tuesdays. I asked her if anyone had come to the door. She said no. She'd been upstairs in the office all morning and hadn't heard anything. I showed her the clip. She watched it, made a face, and said it was obviously some kind of sync issue or timestamp error. She said maybe the camera had reprocessed old footage and filed it with a new time. That made sense. The system had updated its firmware 2 weeks earlier, and I'd had a handful of weird phantom alerts since then. A motion detected with no clip attached. A notification that showed up 20 minutes after I'd already walked through the door. Normal smart home nonsense. I deleted the event from the timeline and didn't think about it for 3 days. On Friday, it happened again. I was at a gas station 7 miles from home. My phone buzzed. Same banner. Person detected. Familiar face. Marcus. Same confidence score. 94%. The timestamp said 5:47 p.m. I was holding a gas nozzle at 5:47 p.m. with a receipt that would later confirm the exact minute. I opened the app. The clip was 11 seconds this time. Same jacket. Same bag. The man walked up the porch steps and paused for a moment, just a half second, and looked to the left toward the side yard, and then unlocked the door and went in. I never looked toward the side yard. There is nothing in the side yard. That detail sat in my stomach like a stone. I called Dana. She picked up on the second ring. She was in the kitchen. I asked her if someone had just come in through the front door. She said no. She said she'd been downstairs for the last hour and the front door had not opened. I told her to check the door. She walked over and said it was locked, deadbolt engaged, chain on. Exactly the way she sets it when she's home alone. I told her about the alert. She asked me to send the clip. I did. She watched it while I was still on the phone and said it looked like old footage of me. Maybe something the cloud had misfiled. She wasn't worried. She said I should call the camera company if it kept happening. Her voice was calm, like she was making dinner. I could hear oil in a pan. I got home 12 minutes later and walked through the front door, and Dana was standing at the stove. The house was warm and ordinary, and I stood in the hallway for a moment, looking at the coat hook where the man in the footage would have hung the messenger bag, and my bag was not there because I was wearing it on my shoulder, having just arrived. There was no trace of anyone. That weekend, I went through the app settings thoroughly. I checked the motion zone boundaries, the sensitivity slider, the person detection toggle, the facial recognition database. The system had 3 saved faces: mine, Dana's, and her mother, Pauline, who visits once a month and had been enrolled so the camera wouldn't flag her as a stranger. My profile had a small gallery of reference images the camera had collected over time. 26 snapshots of me arriving and leaving, auto-captured over the past year. The profile looked normal. The 2 flagged clips, the Tuesday one and the Friday one, were both filed under my timeline, grouped with every other legitimate arrival and departure I'd made. The system did not distinguish them. They sat in the same feed, with the same label, the same confidence score, the same behavioral tag: arrived home. I replayed the Friday clip and watched it frame by frame. The man's gait was close to mine, but not identical. There was something about the way he shifted his weight on the second porch step, a slight favoring of the left side. I don't do that. I've never had a left side injury. His hand went to the door handle at a slightly different angle than I'd use. Not wrong enough to look like a stranger, but wrong enough that once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. Dana came into the room and watched over my shoulder and said she couldn't tell the difference. She said it looked like me. She said I was over-analyzing footage of myself. I wanted her to be right. The next incident was on Monday. I was at work. The alert came at 1:15 p.m. This time, I opened the app immediately. The clip was longer, 14 seconds. The figure walked up to the door, unlocked it, and stepped inside. But before the door fully closed, he turned and looked back toward the street. Not quickly, not nervously. Slowly, like someone taking in the view. Like someone who had never seen the street from that angle before, but wanted to remember it. And then the door closed. The confidence score this time was 96%. I did not call Dana. I sat with it. I pulled up the clip next to a clip of myself arriving home from the previous Thursday, a real one, confirmed by my own memory. I held them side by side on my phone and let them play simultaneously. The resemblance was close enough to make my chest tighten. But the Thursday clip, me, the real arrival, looked rushed. I come home distracted. I dig for keys. I push through the door. I don't pause. The Monday clip looked deliberate. The figure moved like someone who had all the time in the world and was choosing each action with a care that I have never applied to entering my own home. That evening, I brought it up to Dana seriously. I sat across from her at the kitchen table and told her I thought something was wrong that went beyond a firmware bug. I showed her all 3 clips side by side. She watched them with more attention this time. I could tell she was trying to see what I saw. After the 3rd clip, she said that the Monday one was a little strange, that the way the figure turned around was odd, but she still thought the most likely explanation was a combination of reprocessed footage and facial recognition errors. She asked if I'd contacted support. I hadn't. She said I should. I filed a ticket that night. I described the issue in detail: repeated false arrival detections, consistent misidentification, high confidence scores on footage that did not correspond to any real event. I attached the 3 clips. The response came back in 18 hours. I automated but personalized enough to reference my account. It said the clips had been reviewed and that the system's detection appeared to be functioning within normal parameters. It said the facial recognition model cross-references gait analysis, body proportions, and contextual cues such as known clothing patterns and arrival vectors, and that all 3 clips had passed the internal verification threshold. It recommended I review my notification settings and adjust the motion zone sensitivity if unwanted alerts persisted. It closed with a case number and a satisfaction survey. The support response disturbed me more than the footage. The system wasn't malfunctioning. It had reviewed its own work and confirmed that the person in the clips was me. Not probably me. Not a likely match. Me within normal parameters. Dana read the response and shrugged. She said these companies never actually review anything manually. She said the system was probably just referencing its own confidence score and parroting it back. She was probably right. But something about the phrasing, functioning within normal parameters, stayed with me because it implied the situation I was describing was not abnormal. That detecting me at home while I was miles away was within the system's expected behavior, as though it had been designed to account for this. I started checking the app compulsively, not just when alerts came, but preemptively. I would open it during lunch, during meetings, during my commute, and look at the live feed, watching my own front porch in real time as if I might catch the moment it happened. For a week, nothing. The feed showed the porch, and the street, the mailbox, the same 3 cars that are always parked on my block. Normal. I began to relax. Dana noticed and said she was glad I'd moved past it. Then on a Thursday, I was watching the live feed during a slow afternoon at work, and the front door opened. Dana was not home. She had a dentist appointment. I knew this because she texted me from the waiting room 40 minutes earlier. Pauline was in another state. No one should have been in the house. I watched the live feed as the door opened inward and a figure stepped onto the porch from inside the house. He was wearing a shirt I recognized. I was wearing the same shirt. He stood on the porch for 3 or 4 seconds, looked out at the street the way he had in the Monday clip, that slow, absorbing gaze, and then stepped back inside and closed the door. The system logged it as Marcus C. Brief outdoor activity, 2:38 p.m. Brief outdoor activity. The system had a label for it. It had categorized a version of me stepping outside my house while I was not there, while nobody was there, as something routine enough to name. I called Dana. Her phone rang 5 times and went to voicemail. I called again. She picked up, still at the dentist, mouth half numb, annoyed. I told her what I'd seen. I told her someone was inside the house. She said to call the police. I did. I called while still on the phone with her, and then I drove home, breaking the speed limit the entire way. 2 officers arrived before me. They had cleared the house by the time I pulled up. Every door locked, every window latched. No signs of entry, no signs of disturbance, nothing missing, nothing moved. One of the officers asked me to show him the footage. I opened the app and pulled up the event from 2:38 p.m. We watched it together. He looked at the screen, looked at me, looked back at the screen. He asked if I had a brother or a roommate. I said no. He asked if the camera had been hacked. I said I didn't know. He said there wasn't much they could do with a video of what appeared to be the homeowner stepping onto his own porch. He said it kindly, but he said it. The report was filed as a false alarm. Dana came home that evening and walked through the house, opening every closet and checking behind every door. She didn't find anything. She sat with me and we watched the clip together 3 more times. She was quiet afterward. She didn't say it was a firmware bug. She didn't say anything for a while. Then she asked me if I wanted to take the camera down. I said no. Taking it down felt worse. If this was happening, I wanted to see it. That was the moment the dynamic shifted. Before, I was trying to prove the clips were errors. Now I was watching for the next one. I started leaving the live feed open on my laptop while I worked, a small window in the corner of my screen, my own front porch streaming in real time. Dana knew. She didn't say it was unhealthy. I think she was watching too in her own way, from inside the house, listening for the front door, checking the locks more often than she used to. The next clip came on a Saturday morning. We were both away. Grocery run, both of us in the car together. The alert came to both our phones simultaneously. Person detected, familiar face, Marcus. We were at a red light. Dana looked at her phone, then at me, then back at her phone. She opened the clip. This time, the figure was not arriving. He was already inside. The clip triggered because the camera caught movement through the narrow window beside the front door, a shape passing through the hallway, heading toward the back of the house. The system had identified me through a pane of glass, in motion, in partial view, with enough certainty to file the event under my profile. Dana played the clip twice in silence. Then she said, "That's the gray sweatshirt." She was right. The figure was wearing a gray pullover I own. It was in my dresser at home, or it should have been. When we got back from the store, I went upstairs and opened the drawer. The gray sweatshirt was there, folded the way I fold it. Dana stood in the doorway and watched me hold it up, and we both looked at it, and neither of us said anything. That night, I installed a second camera. Not through the same system. A separate brand, separate app, separate cloud account. I positioned it in the living room, pointed at the hallway that connects the front door to the rest of the house. If the front camera caught someone arriving, the indoor camera would capture them walking through. 2 systems, 2 sources, 2 timelines. I felt like I was building a case. Dana helped me mount it. She didn't question why. For 6 days, nothing triggered. I checked obsessively. Both apps, multiple times a day. The porch was empty. The hallway was empty. The system's event timeline showed only real arrivals and departures. Me leaving for work. Dana going for a walk. The Pauline visiting on Sunday and being correctly identified by the front camera with her own tag. On the 7th day, the front camera sent an alert at 10:20 a.m. I was at my desk at work. Person detected, familiar face, Marcus. I opened the app. The clip showed the figure approaching the front door from the left side of the frame, which meant he had come from the side yard. I never approached the house from the side yard. There is no path there. He unlocked the door and entered. Confidence, 96%. I switched to the second camera's app. I scrubbed to 10:20 a.m. The hallway feed was empty. No one walked through. No motion detected. No event logged. The front camera said I walked in. The indoor camera said no one was there. I sat with that contradiction for a long time. I showed Dana when I got home. She looked at both feeds, checked the timestamps, confirmed the indoor camera was working by waving her hand in front of it and watching the motion trigger fire instantly. The camera was functional. It simply had not seen anyone enter the house at 10:20 a.m. Dana sat down on the couch and said we should talk about this seriously. She said either someone was tampering with the outdoor camera's cloud storage, or the system was generating clips that had not been recorded by the hardware, or there was something happening that we did not have a framework for understanding. She said it very calmly, the way she says things when she is frightened, but does not want fear to be the thing that drives the conversation. I appreciated that. I needed someone to be calm with me about this because I could feel myself coming apart at the seams of my daily routine. We agreed to keep both cameras running and to document everything. Dana started a spreadsheet: date, time, which camera triggered, what the clip showed, where both of us were at that moment, and a notes column for anything unusual in the house afterward. She approached it like a project, which is how she manages anxiety, and I was grateful for the structure. Over the next 2 weeks, the front camera logged 4 more events under my profile while I was confirmed to be elsewhere. Dana was home for 2 of them. She heard nothing, saw nothing. The doors did not open, but the camera showed me entering, and in one clip, the figure paused just inside the door and tilted his head to the right, as if he heard something deeper in the house. Dana was in the kitchen at that exact time. She told me she had dropped a mug. The timing matched. Whatever was on camera had reacted to a sound that actually happened inside our house, while the indoor camera recorded nothing and Dana saw no one. The spreadsheet grew. Dana started color-coding entries by contradiction type. No indoor detection, no physical evidence. Dana present and unaware, both of us away. The color coding made the pattern harder to ignore. Almost every clip from the front camera showed the figure doing something slightly, but specifically different from what I would do. He started going upstairs first. I never go upstairs first when I come home. He would leave the front door open behind him for exactly 2 seconds longer than I do. In one clip, he set something down on the hall table. It was too small to identify on camera, and when I got home, there was nothing on the hall table, but there was a faint ring in the dust, the kind a glass or a mug leaves, that I could not account for. Dana found that one. She pointed to it without saying anything, and I looked at it, and we both stood there in the hallway staring at a small circle in a thin film of dust that proved nothing and suggested everything. She started sleeping poorly. I know because I was sleeping poorly too, and I could feel her turning over at 2 and 3 in the morning. One night she asked me, quietly, in the dark, whether I thought the house was safe. I said yes because I wanted to believe it. She said she wasn't sure she trusted the cameras anymore, either one of them, and that not trusting the system meant she didn't know what to believe about what happened in the house while she was in it. That was the first time I understood that this wasn't just my problem. The system's certainty had colonized her sense of security too. It was telling her that her husband was in the house when he wasn't, and it was telling her this with a calm, bureaucratic confidence that left no room for the fact that she was standing in an empty hallway at the time. I tried to break the pattern. I left my jacket at work. The next clip showed the figure wearing a different jacket, one I owned but hadn't worn in weeks. I changed my route home. The figure still approached from the same angle. I arrived home 3 hours early without telling anyone, driving fast, hoping to catch something or someone or nothing. The house was empty. The system had not triggered. It was as if whatever the camera was recording only happened when I was not there to see it in person. Dana suggested we stay somewhere else for a few nights. Her mother's house. I agreed. We packed bags and left on a Wednesday evening, and I left both cameras running. That first night, away from the house, I watched the feeds on my phone in Pauline's guest bedroom while Dana slept next to me. Nothing happened. The porch was empty. The hallway was still. The second night, at 11:48 p.m., the front camera triggered. I was awake. I opened the app before the notification banner finished sliding down. The clip was 17 seconds long. The figure was standing on the porch, not approaching, not leaving, just standing, facing the door. His back was to the camera. He was wearing the gray sweatshirt. He stood perfectly still for the entire duration of the clip, and then the motion detection timed out and the recording stopped. There was no second clip. He did not go inside. He did not turn around. The system tagged it. Marcus C., front porch, extended presence, 11:48 p.m. Extended presence. The system had a term for it. It had, somewhere in its classification library, a behavioral tag for someone standing still on their own porch for 17 seconds in the middle of the night, and it applied that tag to me, to my profile, as though this were a known variant of my behavior. I put the phone down and stared at the ceiling and listened to Dana breathe, and I felt something drain out of me that I don't think has come back. We went home the next day, as Dana didn't want to, but I told her that staying away wasn't going to stop the camera from recording, and that I needed to be there. She understood. I think she understood more than she was saying. The next 3 weeks were the worst. The clips continued, 2 or 3 a week now, and the figure's behavior in them shifted in a way I don't know how to describe without sounding like I've lost my mind. He began doing things inside the house that I would later do. In one clip, captured at 11 a.m. on a Monday while I was at work, the figure walked through the front door carrying a small paper bag. That evening, I stopped at the pharmacy on the way home and bought cough drops for a sore throat I'd been developing since the afternoon. I came home carrying a small paper bag. I set it on the kitchen counter, and then I froze, because I could feel the parallel like a physical weight on my shoulders. I opened the app and rewound to the 11 a.m. clip and watched the figure walk through the door with a bag the same size, the same color, held in the same hand. Dana was there when I checked. She saw my face. She pulled up the spreadsheet on her laptop and logged it without asking me to explain. In the notes column, she wrote, "Predictive, pharmacy bag, same hand." She closed the laptop, and I saw that her hands were not steady. The system's confidence scores started climbing. 97%. 98. As if with each new clip, the figure was becoming more identifiable as me, converging on a precision that my own actual arrivals didn't always achieve. I checked my real arrival scores. They averaged 93, 94%. There were days when the camera was more certain about the other version than it was about me standing on my own porch in real time. I brought this up to Dana and expected her to tell me I was reading too much into numbers. She didn't. She pulled up the spreadsheet and sorted the confidence column and looked at the pattern and said, "It's converging from the wrong direction." I asked her what she meant. She said that normally, if a system misidentifies someone, the confidence is low and gets corrected over time, But this was high from the beginning and getting higher. The system wasn't making an error and learning. It was recognizing something and becoming more sure. I don't know when I started checking the app before making decisions. It wasn't a conscious shift. But I began opening the feed before leaving work to see if I'd already arrived. If the system showed a clip of me entering the house, I would sit in my car in the parking lot and wait, as though giving the other version time to finish whatever it was doing. I started adjusting my own behavior based on what the clips showed. If the footage version went upstairs first, I would go upstairs first when I got home, not because I wanted to, but because it felt dangerous not to. As if deviating from what the camera had already recorded would create a gap between me and whatever the system believed me to be. And that gap was the thing I was most afraid of. Dana noticed. She asked me one evening why I'd gone straight to the bedroom when I came home, when I never do that. I told her the clip had shown it. She looked at me for a long time and then she said, "Marcus, you're following it." She wasn't wrong. I didn't know how to explain that following it felt safer than not following it. That the system's version of my behavior had started to feel like a draft I was supposed to finalize, and if I deviated too far, I wouldn't be recognizable anymore. Not to the camera, not to the house, not to whatever mechanism was generating these recordings with my face, my clothes, my keys, and a confidence score that exceeded my own. The last clip I want to talk about arrived on a Sunday morning at 7:14 a.m. Dana and I were both in bed. Both phones buzzed at the same time. We looked at each other. She reached for hers first. I watched her face as she opened the notification. Her expression didn't change, which was worse than if it had. She turned the screen toward me. The clip was 22 seconds long. The figure was inside the house. Not arriving, not leaving. The front camera had captured him through the hallway window, walking from the kitchen toward the staircase. He was carrying 2 mugs. He walked with the specific, unhurried gait of someone bringing coffee upstairs to someone still in bed. At the bottom of the stairs, he paused, just for a moment, and looked up toward the second floor, toward our bedroom, and the clip ended. We were in the bedroom. We were directly above where the figure was standing. The indoor camera's app showed nothing. No motion, no event, no log. But the front camera system had tagged the clip. Marcus C., morning routine, 7:14 a.m. With a confidence of 99%. Morning routine, 2 mugs, walking toward the stairs. The system didn't just recognize the figure as me. It recognized the behavior as mine. It categorized it as a routine, something I do, something it expected from me, even though I had never once in my life brought 2 mugs of coffee upstairs at 7:14 on a Sunday morning. But the thing that keeps me awake, the thing I cannot stop turning over in my mind, is that 3 days later, I did, without thinking about it. I woke up early. Dana was still asleep, and I went downstairs and made 2 cups of coffee and started walking toward the stairs, and I was halfway up before I stopped. I stood there holding 2 mugs, 1 in each hand, and I felt the house around me like a system that had already logged this moment, already filed it, already confirmed that this is what Marcus does at this time on this day. I put the mugs down on the step. I sat down next to them. Dana found me there 20 minutes later, sitting on the stairs, not moving. She sat down next to me and didn't ask what was wrong because she already knew. We still live in the house. The cameras are still running. Dana maintains the spreadsheet. The clips still come. I don't check the confidence scores anymore because the last 4 have all been 99%, and I don't want to see the number that comes after certainty. What I want to say, what I came here to say, is that I don't know what's on the footage. I don't know who or what the camera is recording, but the system knows my name, my face, my gait, my routine, and increasingly, my future, and it files all of it with the same patient, indifferent certainty, and it has never once been wrong in a way that I can prove, and I have stopped being able to tell whether I'm making decisions or confirming ones that were already made about me by something that arrives first, that always arrives first, and is already home.